They tell you to move on like it's as simple as changing lanes on a highway. Like there's a detour sign, and all you have to do is take the next exit and find a new route. What they don't tell you is how your entire body resists the idea. Your mind replays moments like scratched vinyl, your heart clenches at the thought of forgetting, and your soul, stubborn and aching, refuses to follow directions. Moving on sounds easy when you've never had to let go of something that mattered. It's only when you've lost someone, or something, or some version of yourself, that you realize it's not about moving forward. It's about surviving 1,000 small deaths and waking up anyway. Pain becomes a companion when you sit with it long enough. It becomes familiar. It roots itself into your identity until letting it go feels like losing a part of yourself. You cling to what hurt you not because you enjoy the suffering, but because the alternative, a blank space, a silence where memory used to be, feels worse. What's left if not this aching echo? But here's what we forget: we don't owe our pain our loyalty. We can thank it for what it taught us, and still choose not to carry it forever. Even the worst relationships, the deepest disappointments, the most hollow routines, they're comfortable in their own way. You know what to expect. Predictability creates safety, and safety feels like love, even when it's not. This is why leaving is hard. Not because you don't know it's necessary, but because stepping into the unknown feels like jumping without a parachute. And still, you jump. Not because you're fearless, but because staying hurts more. We associate grief with funerals and black clothes and casseroles wrapped in foil. But grief is a shapeshifter. You grieve the loss of someone who's still alive. You grieve the job you didn't get, the version of yourself you never became, the life that didn't unfold the way you planned. And just because it's invisible doesn't make it any less real. Grief is silent, but it roars inside of you. It's valid. Even when others don't see it. You remember the good parts more vividly. That one smile. That perfect night. The way they looked at you like you were everything. Your brain edits out the disappointment, the chaos, the nights you cried yourself to sleep. Not because you're naive, but because nostalgia is persuasive. Moving on becomes harder when memory lies so beautifully. You think if you just had one more conversation, one more explanation, one more apology, it would be easier. You wait for closure like it's a train that's just late, not realizing it's never coming. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you create yourself. It's the decision to stop waiting for answers you'll never get. One of the hardest parts about heartbreak, whether it's romantic, personal, or existential, is how quickly the world keeps spinning. People go back to work. They laugh. They post sunsets on social media like nothing happened. And there you are. Frozen. The world doesn't stop for your pain. But that doesn't mean your pain isn't real. It means healing will require you to carry it, walk with it, and slowly let it soften, without expecting everything else to pause. Nobody tells you how unglamorous healing is. It's not a breakthrough every day. It's brushing your teeth when you don't care. It's drinking water when you'd rather stay numb. It's going to bed without texting them. It's monotonous, quiet, uncelebrated at work. But it builds the scaffolding for something stronger than happiness, peace. We don't just lose people. We lose roles. Labels. Meaning. When your identity was wrapped around being their partner, their friend, the successful one, the strong one, who are you without that? This is the quiet crisis of moving on. You're not just letting go of a person or event. You're reinventing who you are. And reinvention is exhausting. But also, liberating. There's no timeline for healing, but somehow we still measure it. 3 months. 1 year. A new relationship. A new job. But grief doesn't follow a calendar. And moving on isn't a performance. You don't owe anyone a deadline. Not even yourself. Songs. Smells. Street corners. Phrases. A stranger who walks like them. You never know when it's going to hit. And when it does, it can take you right back to day one. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. Healing isn't the absence of triggers. It's the growing ability to face them without unraveling. Maybe you stayed too long last time. Maybe you ignored red flags. Maybe you lost yourself. Now, every new beginning feels like a risk. You hesitate, not because you don't want love or joy or meaning, but because you're afraid of ending up in the same place. The past should inform you, not imprison you. Toxic positivity is the enemy of healing. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to not be okay. Growth doesn't come from pretending everything's fine. It comes from telling the truth about where you are, and choosing to move anyway. We think of moving on as a finish line. Something you cross. Done. Healed. Over it. But healing is cyclical. You revisit old wounds. You make peace again. And again. Moving on isn't a destination. It's a relationship with your past that evolves. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting, nor does it mean pretending that what happened was insignificant. It's about learning to honor the past while allowing yourself to engage fully with the present. Letting go means releasing your grip on something so tightly held that your hands have no space left to welcome peace, growth, or new beginnings. Memories don't have to be painful weights that keep dragging you backwards. You can carry them forward with gentleness, without letting them define or confine you. It's possible to remember the love without getting lost in the sorrow. To let go is, in itself, a profound act of love, toward yourself and toward your future. Modern culture tends to romanticize independence, often portraying it as the ultimate emotional achievement. We're told that needing others makes us weak, that strength means walking alone, that the truly healed stand solo and untouched. But this notion is not only misleading, it's isolating. The truth is, healing thrives in connection. While solitude can offer clarity, it is often through others that we rediscover our own worth. The quiet comfort of someone who sits with you in your sadness, who doesn't need to fix you but chooses to be present, that's where the true healing begins. Independence has its merits, but emotional interdependence is deeply human. You don't have to carry the weight alone. You were never meant to. Experiencing joy after loss can feel like a betrayal of what was. Guilt may creep in, whispering that happiness invalidates the depth of your pain or dishonors the memory of what you've lost. But nothing could be further from the truth. Joy does not erase sorrow, it coexists with it. To laugh, to smile, to feel lightness in your chest after so long, it's not wrong. It's a sign that your spirit remembers how to breathe again. Start with the little things. A song that makes your foot tap before your mind even catches on, the smell of coffee on a quiet morning, sunlight on your skin. These are not small, they're sacred. These moments are your life gently nudging you forward, showing you that healing doesn't always need fanfare. In time, that joy will return more often. And when it does, let it stay. Healing is rarely a solitary pursuit. Although introspection is necessary, real transformation often happens in the company of others. It might be a friend who checks in, even when you don't reply. Or a stranger's story that makes you feel less alone. Or a support group where you finally speak the truth you've been swallowing. You don't need a crowd, you need safe, genuine connection. Community can mean one person who gets it. One person who says, "You're not crazy for feeling this way." One person who doesn't ask you to move on but instead asks if you've eaten today. We find pieces of ourselves in others. Let them reflect your strength back to you when you've forgotten it. Hope rarely makes a grand entrance. It comes quietly, cautiously. Maybe you hear yourself laugh unexpectedly. Maybe you make a plan for a weekend 3 weeks from now. Maybe you imagine a future, not clearly, but without dread. That is hope returning. It doesn't mean everything is perfect. It means your mind is beginning to imagine something beyond the pain. Hope is resilient, often buried, but never fully gone. Once it takes root again, it begins to reshape the world around you. Slowly. Gently. Unstoppably. You are not betraying your grief by holding on to hope. You are honoring your capacity to heal. This is not the conclusion of your story, it's the beginning of an entirely new chapter. It may be one you never asked for, one that started with heartbreak and uncertainty. But you have the power to decide how the rest unfolds. Moving on is not synonymous with forgetting or with being unshaken. It means allowing the past to inform you without imprisoning you. It's not about having a 5-year plan. It's about giving yourself permission to keep moving, even if the steps are small and uneven. You don't need to know exactly where you're headed. You just need to believe that your life is still worth stepping into. One mindful breath. One honest conversation. one quiet morning at a time. And when you look back, weeks, months, or years from now, you'll see just how far you've come. Not because the pain disappeared, but because you learned how to live beside it without letting it take the lead. No, moving on isn't impossible. It just doesn't look like the movies. It looks like this: slow, brave, deeply human. And maybe, just maybe, it will be even better than you expected.